Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 action science fiction film Cosmic Sin, a film that is directed by Edward Drake and it stars Frank Grillo, Bruce Willis and C.J. Perry. Now this film focuses on Earth set in the year 2524, something like that, and basically deals with man's first contact with extraterrestrials. Now this first contact isn't particularly friendly, and Earth stroke the Alliance, it's like a military force I suppose that runs most of Earth now, decide to try and get the upper hand on this new alien species that is not being friendly, and they decide to take the fight to them. So Frank Grillo and Bruce Willis, who he plays the usual, aging war hero type character, get a squad together, head off into the stars to take the fight to this new alien civilization. Right, what are my thoughts on Cosmic Sin? Right, well, I'm not going to lie, and I'm foolish, I know. I was quite looking forward to this. I remember seeing the trailer a few weeks ago. I was desperately disappointed with Bruce Willis's last science fiction outing, Breach, which was late last year it came out. In fact, it was garbage, if I'm being particularly honest. I think it was my second or third least favourite film of the year last year. So I was hopeful, but not overly expecting much from this film. And I have to be honest, while I do think there are aspects of this film that are entertaining, it's one of those Friday night movies you can crack open a few cans of beer with your mates. Well, not these days because you're not allowed to mix with your mates, but you know what I mean. Order a pizza and just turn your brain off and have a little bit of fun with this film. There's lots of science fiction-y stuff, decent effects, the acting's okay for the most part. And lots of shooting guns, back and forth. So it's a fairly entertaining film, but when you strip away this film, there are a lot of problems with it. Plot holes everywhere, convenient plot devices, some questionable acting from some, and some really cringy dialogue. So if you don't take this film too seriously, you're probably going to have a decent enough time with it. And it is certainly better than Breach, but only just, I would suggest. It is certainly not really a barnstorming science fiction action adventure, even though it tries desperately to be that. Now, Bruce Willis. What do I think of Bruce Willis's performances? Well, I have commented fairly recently on a lot of his most recent films that I think he's phoning in his performances these days. It seems like he's lost his passion for the business. There's not a great deal of evidence here to suggest otherwise, but it's not his worst performance I've seen, this Bruce Willis. There's a little bit of effort put in here. Frank Grillo is Frank Grillo, he seems to be spending a lot of his time making like these straight to DVD or video on demand type B-movie action sci-fi films. So if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do, and he's okay in it. When we talk about some fairly poor performances here, the one that jumps out jumps out of the screen at you is C.J. Perry. Now, if you don't know who C.J. Perry is, she's Lana in the WWE. Now, her acting here is really distracting. And it's not a great performance by her, but great. Props to her. She wants to get to the film business, so you go for it, girl. But she's got a bit of improving to do, and it's just not practical as well. She walks around with this long yellow dyed hair. It sticks out like a sore thumb when you're trying to hide from these aliens that are trying to get you. So not practical and not a great performance as well. Some of the dialogue here is, like as I've mentioned, really, really cringy. I'll give you an example. One of the characters said something to Lana along the lines of, "Can you handle it?" And she comes back with the line, "I've handled bigger." When I heard that line, I just kind of let out this sigh. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh yeah, the dialogue wasn't great anyway at that point, and that kind of nailed the put the final nail in the coffin for me. The action is certainly passable, The effects are certainly passable for, like, you know, straight to DVD, VOD science fiction film. Lots of gunfights. The trouble with this story is it changes the narrative to suit the film. At one point, these aliens, you know, they become like these parasites that get in you. We've seen it all before in science fiction films. Take you over. And we're told at the beginning of the film that you know someone's an alien, if you like, when they've been taken over, because they can't talk. And then later on in the film, one of them starts talking. So, you know, it's one of those films that changes the narrative to suit the film. It puts these plot devices in to just move the film forwards. If they need to find coordinates for somewhere, they just seem to find them. You don't really understand how they find them. And then they'll sit around and just have these discussions about sciencey things, about their plan of action, and none of it makes a blind bit of sense. But they just do it to move the film forward. It's quite a confused film, that's for sure. You know, it's the kind of film that's a bit brainless, where four people sat around a table decide the fate of a brand new species they've just met. You know, that's the kind of film it is. You know, Bruce Willis, Frank Grillo, and two other characters, one of them that doesn't say a thing really at the table, all decide the fate of this new alien species, which is basically, well, let's wipe them out. They seem aggressive. So it's dumb, definitely dumb. But it is fairly entertaining, I suppose. But there are lots of problems with this film. But I didn't hate it, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It's a fair score, I think. It's an average science fiction action flick. So something to check out if you're looking for that sort of thing. That is my review for Cosmic Sin. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. And of course, I will be back with more reviews on Screen Stars very, very soon.